I think that's also a typo there. I think there are plans to release an updated version of the patch eventually. This guy does look pretty cool though, I'll admit. And that's a very ominous name. Gwen Chaos, I think? So I could have sworn that I actually found something in real mythology that he might have been named after recently, but I just can't find what it was. I know I found his Wikipedia page at one point. I should have taken note of it. What, Martel? You mean the goddess from Tales of Symphonia? Not really, but in some ways she may as well be a goddess. Why do I get the feeling this danger isn't even to do with Coda? And it looks like we've got both an army to contend with in Graham Forest, as well as a bunch of, well, just two thieves. Don't really know why they're even showing up as an army on the world map, but I guess because they're unaffiliated with these guys. So our next opponents are going to be a whole lot of archers, and Roger and Mel, two of the more sympathetic members of Coda's group. So how will we deal with them? Well, we can shop at the city while we are still here. Let's see if there's anything useful. There's hand axes and extra heal staves. I don't think we really need anything here. Though you always want to make sure you've got everything because, like I said before, once Runan leaves a location, he can't go back there ever again. I think I'll have Raffen take the kill count Iron Sword, while Naren takes the kill count Iron Lance. Yeah, it's got critical +2 now because of, it's up to 52 kills. Guess I can give Sasha another sword. I know that'll kill his attack speed, but honestly, Naren does not need a steel sword. He's fine with what he has right now. It's time for a battle in the forest. Yeah, this chapter name was localized a little bit. In the original, I think it was something like Tragic Soldiers. Also, this music right here, get used to it. You'll be hearing this song a lot. I think it's one of the most common map themes in the whole game. But this map is kind of interesting. We've got some pretty cool looking forts here. A lot of forests, a lot of archers. So, kind of bad time to be a Pegasus Knight on this map. Well, good thing Sasha isn't one yet. We also have a sellsword here, who's not such a swell sword. I'm not making an intentional pun, I'm just referring to Gregor. And let's just see, I don't think we can see the conditions yet, but I think this is a seas map, and Roger is on the seas point, which is not good because we like him. And he has an armor slayer. Thankfully, we don't have any armored units. There's a village down there. Well, just a house, and one here. So take note of those, especially since there are going to be a couple of thieves on this map who will try and destroy them. But yeah, the sheer amount of forests here makes this map not particularly kind to cavalry. And annoyingly, again, we can't actually tell... Oh yeah, and also Naren's title changed to Golden Knight because we just promoted him to literally a Golden Knight. He's actually the only playable Gold Paladin in the game, so that's important to know. Okay, so who's sitting this out? Okay, just want to mention this. You want to bring Sasha and Julia to this map. You need both of them. Even though that's not obvious at all from looking at things. Yeah, a lot of recruitments were kind of a guide, dang it, in earlier Fire Emblem. But I kind of want Bast, thinking about it. I mean, I don't even know if Esther will... Oh, actually, no, Esther gives a support bonus to Garrow. And I also do kind of want to... Garrow, no, Raffen, what am I saying? Like, I don't even know if Plum will be that useful here, but at the same time, she is another healer. Chryse, I still kind of want Chryse. Actually, I should also mention that the more female characters that you deploy in this chapter, the better. Sadly, I don't even really want to use Garrow here. Now, I'm going to try and see what happens if I put Sasha up at the top of the deployment list, but I still don't think that's really going to do any good. I'll put Raph in there. Okay, let's battle. Yeah, see, Sasha didn't even deploy up front. It's actually the people, like, later in the list who deploy up front, like Plummets. Yeah, I don't like the way that deployment works in TearRing Saga. It's one of its biggest issues to me. And I still can't believe that it wasn't until, like, FE6 that they actually let you choose where you deploy everyone. So, remember when I was saying that this is not a good map to be Pegasus Knight? Well, yeah. And hey, Pegasus I have lore in this world. I just say, like, Pegasus I. Pegasus, that was an actual plural proposed on by a certain character who was a bit weird on a certain show. We already had some implication that Martel knew Enter from before. She is someone who works at the same temple she does. And she's come to bring bad news, but for now, her arrival is good news for us. This is also kind of one of the recruitment themes of this game. So every time I see the name Martel, I just hear in my head, the goddess Martel. Like, the way that people say that in Tales of Symphonia was always very distinctive to me. And you hear that word just thrown around so much in the early game. Oh yes, your bodyguard services are no longer needed, because we're better bodyguards than you. I mean, you could just put her on that Pegasus and just fly away. Like Eugen is suggesting. Ibis, okay, and a named Pegasus too. Like, what is it with... Often it's the first Pegasus Knight you get who has a named Pegasus. I still just think it's funny though with Florina's Pegasus. It's supposed to be Huey, but for some reason it's also called Macker. And then, of course, the Pegasus named Titania from Sacred Stones, who predates the Titania from, Awakening, no, wow, that would get me killed in some circles, Path of Radiance. I mean, technically, Titania is an Awakening. Let them travel with you, but Lady Enter... I'm sorry. I never knew about that meme for so long because I originally watched the Fire Emblem OVA in Japanese, where it's kind of mediocre. It's not, hilariously bad. I mean, some of the voices are actually pretty bad, even in Japanese in the OVA, but it's still not quite as memey as the English version. Current objective, finding a way out of this blasted forest. So yeah, being able to fly is good here, but at the same time, the map is kind of locked down by archers. Of course we can, she's a Pegasus Knight, and Pegasus Knights in TearRing Saga are ridiculously good. Huh, so she's already talked about Runen to Martel, but Martel hasn't met up with her since she met Runen, which would imply that Enter has heard of Runen before. So much so that she was talking about him to her friends, before Runen even met her, as far as we know. That's interesting. Well, not really, just Coda and he's not royal family. Nothing we can do about that for now, but we have Martel on our side, our first Pegasus Knights. In Sasha's bio, I mentioned that Pegasus Knights are possibly the strongest class in TearRing Saga. Martel is one of them. She joins early, and she has very good base stats for this point and decent growth rates, so she's considered one of the game's best characters. She also has Canto and Vantage at base, although while Vantage will be activating most of the time due to her high speed, she's not really one-hit KOing many things, though she will one-round KO a lot, so it's actually not that useful to her unless she's facing very weakened enemies. At level 15, she gets Terror, an interesting skill that performs an automatic critical hit that ignores terrain effects. A bit situational, but more damage is always nice. And Adept comes fairly late, but that's always useful. Her support options are pretty solid as well overall. You need 8 mastery to use 11 swords, so she needs to gain it at least 3 times with a 35% growth rate, which is definitely possible, especially since easy access to 11 swords doesn't come until about chapter 10. Other than that, her main weaknesses are losing a lot of her strengths in indoor maps, and promotion arguably making her worse, but you can always use an occult book on her instead. That's often preferred, especially since actually getting your hands on a Wyvern flute is pretty hard and, again, often not that worth it given how good the magic from Pegasus Knight is. So Martel's pretty good, and she can fly directly to this village, like right from the beginning, and weirdly I found this archer, for some reason, he tends not to aggro even if you go into his range. I'm not really sure why. But as this is a game with dismounting, you can actually dismount her and not have her weak to bows if you want, but I mean, I don't know if she'd really be able to take that guy on her own. She can quite easily run rings about him and reach that house without even needing to worry about, you know, him though. So, for now we've got a whole lot of archers in these woods. As I said in Runan's bio, 1 to 2 range enemies are fairly rare in TearRing Saga, but at the same time, like, there are quite a few 2-range enemies. Now, Sasha and Julia need to head for... also, I mentioned that you really want Sasha in this map. If you have Luca, for some dumb reason, you also want to bring Luca. There's a very good reason. I should also probably trade Chrysa's Javelin over to Naren, because he'll make much better use of it. Yeah, this song isn't on a particularly long loop, and it does play for a lot of maps. I think it's called, like, 5th Core or something weird. Like, core as in C-O-R-P-S, which I always used to pronounce corpse, but no. Well, I mean, I suppose... I mean, they often become corpses. That's dark, but still. Speaking of dark, this is an oddly dark enemy phase battle theme. So, at the very least, you do get a hint here that Sasha needs to visit a particular village, but at the same time, you will only get this if you deploy her, I think, so yeah. That is the home of the hunter Raquel. I forget if this conversation changes if Luca's with you. So yeah, this is actually the reason why you need to choose, This is the reason why, if you, want the events with Luca, you have to choose him at your first opportunity, which is a shame. Because he needs to visit this house before Sasha does. And this is what I was talking about with Eugen before. He was talking about how, oh, we can't afford to show mercy to our enemies. Well, Raquel is somebody who does. So, she'd probably be of questionable use in the war effort, right? Well, we'll see. Meanwhile, a wild edgelord appeared. So, this guy is the Reaper of Shram. He has a legendary sword that only he can use that halves damage and is effective against monsters, 20 critical, 10 might, 80 hit, and only 2 weight. And he also has soul, and some pretty good stats too. So, we'll want to be careful of that guy, but we don't know who that girl he was referring to is. But I guess we're about to find out, and in fact, you probably already know, seeing as I specifically said to bring a certain character to this chapter, and I'm pretty sure he's not, you know, he's not referring to Sasha there. Or, you know, enter. Just want to see if I can lure some of these guys. I might be able to actually lure one of them. Yeah, javelins are pretty heavy in this game. Like, they often go to some lengths to balance javelins, but, you know, javelins are really not balanced at all in, like, FE7. And speaking of not balanced at all, here's Naren! Naren, like, honestly, like, Naren is really fun to use. I know he's, like, really broken, but I like one-shot, yeah, because Naren. I like broken things that are, like, that you have to work for. I just find them very fun in general. It's kind of why I always like, you know, the... Like, I say starts out weak, ends up strong characters. I don't say S, because S typically refers to one of that archetype who joins very late into the game. But, you know, Naren joins really early, so he's, you know, just generally all around amazing. This is actually something that I think is a pretty decent point in TearRing Saga's favour. It's that I think that in Thracia 776, with like a few exceptions, like I don't think Edda is very good, but other than that, I actually think in FE6, Kaga finally learned how to do Ests right, and then he left the series, and then Fire Emblem 6 had some of the worst Ests ever. Like, you know, Gwendolyn and Sophia, and yeah. But in FE5, he usually like gave them Paragon, and... among other things. In fact, like, even in FE4, Lachesis is considered pretty worth using, even by... oh, wow, this guy's an idiot. Even by, like, veteran players or, you know, low turn count players. Oh, right, he had a shield from one of the... I mean, he doesn't really care about having a shield, but still. I probably should have given that shield to someone else, because it's a little wasted on Naren, because he's pretty much invincible anyway. Okay, this is our first enemy using a regular bow and not a crossbow, and one thing that is actually kind of cool about TearRing Saga is that archers actually shoot their arrows, like, they actually arc their arrows. There's a TV trope called no arc in archery, and usually Fire Emblem plays that straight, but this is like a rare case of that being averted. Archers actually do curve their shots in this game. Okay, so this is interesting, because that thief is getting dangerously close to Raquel's house. So I need to get rid of that guy and have Raffen run forward, but at the same time, doing so with Esther would put her in range of that guy. So I could... wait, no, she doesn't have enough mastery to use the javelin. What am I thinking? That's totally pointless. I was like, oh, I could just give her the javelin, and then I'm gonna have her run over, but then, well, you know... obviously that's a completely moot point, because she can't even use javelins. And here's her 15% support with Raffen going. Not that she even needed it at that time. Oh, okay. You'll probably see a lot of no-ups in this game, because growths in general are quite low. Okay, I can't even double you guys with the javelin, can I? No, I can't, so it's pointless for me to actually attempt to attack you. I'll sit here with the javelin just to lure you in, though. Okay, yeah, this overall is... it's a weird map, because... there's a lot of side objectives that you need to do, and at the same time, there's actually not a ton of enemies, and the few enemies that are here, they just don't really do that much. It's probably to compensate for the fact that the boss of this map is a little interesting to deal with. We'll get to that soonish. I think I'll talk more about how Kaga did S right in this game, and I think arguably in Thracia, later on, because there's, well, there are a lot of other, like, sort of Magikarp power type characters in TearRing Saga that I also really like. So I'll get to them, like, I'll talk more about that once I get to them, but, like, with Lachesis and Naren, it's interesting, because I think, like, one way to guarantee an S being good, well, not if they join late, but is to give them a really, really good promoted class. That's part of why, like, efficiency players still think training Lacus is worth it, because, yeah, she starts out weak, but when she promotes, like, even though her growths are pretty mediocre aside from strength, she gets ridiculous promotion gains, and A ranks in every single weapon type, including staves. And you only have -2 to attack speed. I can't even W with that, so I probably have to just sit on that. I can W with the Iron Sword though, probably, but at the same time, I do exactly enough to kill, but that does rely on me hitting both of them, and if I don't hit both of them, I think he's still blocked from that house if I go here. I mean, really I should just sit on that house, but I'm just going to do this instead. Again, I'm pretty sure he is blocked if I somehow miss one of these, which is possible. It's an 8% chance. Enemy thieves, just they look like they're permanently hunched over, which is a little weird. I can Kanto into the house, but I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I guess I can lure that guy a little bit further. Do you have a... You don't even have a hand... Oh, but you can actually get into, like, close contact. Or, you know, one range, melee range, adjacent, whatever you want to say. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, like, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to double, and then I was like, oh, right, you have a crossbow, so yeah. Like, we have a lot of characters who have enough speed to use crossbows to decent effect. I should also mention that crossbows, besides the original bowgun, tend to have special effects that make them very worth using. This is going to have Naren moving a little bit back, but I'm going to give you back your javelin so that I can do this and hopefully take this guy out. Although, you know, given Christ's accuracy issues so far, no action did hit. Nice. Christ is doing pretty decently on levels, more than I expected him to. Because I do want to at least promote him, even though it's not really going to be... like, it's... Like, we'll see. The main reason why I want him promoted is just for that event, and it's kind of weird how that works. Like I said in the bio, it's not so much for the power that I'm promoting him, it's for something else. Like, I guess I could call it a quality of life feature, but we'll get to that later. Oh hey, Enter levels up and gains a point of speed that she won't really be able to use. Okay, so here's the thing. Julia needs to advance down the map, but at the same time, you don't want to put Julia too close to other enemies. Besides the edgelord down there. Well, we can at least grab this village. This village has probably an interesting, I'm guessing this is a localization embellishment, because this thing was not named that originally, but you actually really want to make sure you visit this house, because it gives you something very good. Oh, I guess this guy's a bad apple in the family. Yeah, well... Maybe we can... I don't know, try and talk things out with Roger? Seems like just about everyone has backstories in this game. And this is something that I kind of like to see, already pre-existing relationships. Just a lot of the newer Fire Emblems are so focused on keeping shipping open that they just can't write characters who are already married or already in relationships. That's why I kind of like Alois. Though I still really don't think that his S support should have been called an S, it should have been just like A+ or something. Yeah, we get a physics staff, and that's a very good apology. Physics is insane in this game. Yeah, so he's making a bit of an in-joke here. Far Healing Staff is literally what it's called in Japanese. Is this an actual thing in the Fire Emblem fandom? I wonder if it is referencing something. Like, I don't even know why the staff is called Physic to begin with. Like, it's like I guess it's supposed to be like a health-related term. The thing about Physic is that it has unlimited range in this game. So, yeah, that's why having 6 Mastery to use it is very, very important for any healer. It's just that useful. And there are no men staves in this game, so, like, really it's just heal and Physic for healing. Like, there's no Fortify, nothing else like that. And then speaking of which, I just always thought it was, like, I remember the whole, the Physic, the naming thing, because, like, in Japanese it was always called, like, Raibro, or, like, Libro, or Libro, because, like, heal is live and mend is relive. Recover is still recover, though. I think I can possibly whack you and then run and block the thief in the same turn, but with Kanto, although I might not have enough thanks to movement cost, I should definitely be able to stop the thief anyway. I don't know if I should be overusing this Killer Lance that much, but I like it. Also, speaking of things that have different names in Japanese, I'm pretty sure the killer weapons apart from the Killing Edge don't have, like, Fire Emblem names in the Japanese version of TearRing Saga. The Killer Lance is called, like, Needle Spear, I think? And the Killer Axe, which we haven't seen yet, is called Scissor Axe in Japanese, which is kind of funny. Okay, I'm going to wait a little bit, I think. Because, I'll just spoil it now, we need Julia to talk to Vega, but at the same time, there should not be any other enemies around when you do this. For reasons. Just make sure there are no other enemies near her when she does. It will be very obvious why soon. I kind of want to dismount Naren for a little bit just to see if he can move through the forest a little bit better. His stats are still pretty insane when dismounted, but he won't be able to use lances. Only Bronze Paladin or Commando Knight can do that. She does have a leather shield. I'm gonna just try and dismount her and just wail on this guy's face, maybe. She's not gonna do a lot of damage, but at least it's something. I swear that I've actually put her in his range before, and he hasn't attacked her. But yeah, you might notice that the dismounted Pegasus Knight's battle sprite is the same as Sasha's, so foreshadowing on what Sasha can eventually become. Yeah, there we go. So what I was saying about, like, the physics staff is that, there was a staff that showed up in Awakening's Japanese version called, Raibro, which was a combination of the names for Mend and Physic. So everyone was just calling it Physimend before Awakening got localized, which we didn't think was guaranteed, because New Mystery of the Emblem didn't get localized. Like, that period between, like, when Awakening was announced in Japanese was a very interesting time to be a Fire Emblem fan, because it was before the big newbie boom happened. Like, we never thought Awakening would get localized. We never even knew, like, it would be successful, so it was weird. Like, we all thought that it was just gonna, it wouldn't be a big hit at all. So we fan translated that as Physimend, and then when it actually came out, I think it ended up being called Catharsis. It was one of those weird event tile only items. So, like, as you can see here, Roger is coming for us. But that also means that he's left the seize points, which means that we can potentially end this chapter without killing him. And that's what you need to do. Now, it might seem like that's difficult, because he's a mounted unit, and we need to get Runen all the way there. Well, there's a secret with Roger, and that is that, again, this is a bit of a guide, dang it, because, like, I'm not sure how you're supposed to know this, but Roger will not attack females. So, you can box him in with female characters, and he won't be able to do anything. And that's the best way to deal with him without killing him. And trust me, like I said, you want to not kill Roger, and with that I've probably already spoiled the reason why. Since I've already... I guess Runen needs to be hightailing it to the seize points. So, yeah. Roger, let's just say, he may or may not be recruitable. But we can't recruit him now, so we have to just avoid killing him. And the thing is, interesting thing about that is that this situation with Fred and See, I just revealed myself there. This situation with Roger and Mel is almost exactly the same as Fred and Olwen in one chapter of Fire Emblem 5. Like, there's a chapter where Fred, a paladin, and Olwen, well, they're not actually, a couple at that point, but they're implied to be kind of romantic. Well, I think Fred is implied to have feelings for Olwen. It's kind of funny that Olwen has made it big in Heroes and Fred's nowhere to be seen, but I do think it is pretty heavily implied that Fred and Olwen become a couple after the events of the game. Yeah, see, that guy is still not moving. It's like, I don't even know if they forgot to, like, program AI for him or something, or if he's only triggered to move in certain situations, but, like, he's just standing here and, like, letting Martel... I don't even know what... Like, unless this guy is actually just a scarecrow they dressed up as an archer just to scare away Pegasus Knights. Might be an effective tactic, actually. Yeah, what I was saying, like Fred and Olwen, I believe that, like Fred also wouldn't hurt females, and you had to not kill Fred in that chapter, and then he'd join later, and then Olwen would also join later. That's pretty much exactly what's going on here. But there's... Oh, that's... Okay, that's a bit of a problem. That's a bit of a major problem. Because I don't want you to attack anybody besides Julia, because, you know... I can't, like, unequip Naren's weapons. I don't trust his AI to be smart and not attack Naren. I think if I move you back, like, one space, Vega won't be able to attack her. I just don't want her to be in range of that archer when Vega's already reached her. Okay, I may have screwed this up, because does he attack immediately, or does the event initiate if he attacks her? Because, like right now, he has no reason not to charge right at her. Please don't, like, please attack her and initiate the event, maybe? Okay, I'm pretty sure the event is initiating. There we go. Yeah. So this also happens if Julia talks to Vega. Again, I still don't know why they're, like... Shouldn't he have said, like, that red-haired girl? That would have made this less of a guide, dang it, that you need to deploy Julia. So Vega's just suddenly going, you know, prepare to die, but not really telling her why. Then again, he is a hired, not gun, hired sword, so that makes sense. So don't worry about that, that is completely scripted. I'm sure a lot of new players freaked out upon seeing that, though. I think even if you somehow train Julia, that the fight still plays out the same way. It's just like Seth versus Volta at the beginning of Sacred Stones. Vega makes a good insight check. And so with that, you might have noticed by his sprite switching around, Vega just joined us! Yeah, the guy with the broken personal sword with 60 uses and amazing stats. So remember when I said Julia was the exception but not the rule for Swordmasters in this game? Meet the rule. Vega is completely ridiculous. Not only does he have very good strength for a Myrmidon in both base and growth, he also has overkill skill and speed bases and solid growth in those areas. But also a personal sword with amazing stats that halves all damage, and he starts with Soul, making him incredibly tanky for a Myrmidon. That personal sword has enough uses to last him through a lot of the game, and there aren't a ton of weapons that are worth using the repair staff on, so it kind of has first dibs on that too. He also has a nice mutual 10% support with another very strong Myrmidon, so that can be fun once we get them to join. When I talked about Barts, I mentioned that there was a lot of competition for Heroes Crests. Vega is one of the main reasons why. There's not much more I can say about this guy. He's amazing, even with the lack of a mount. Though now that he has joined, I can mention something. If you care about story events and want a really good sword, you will need to train either him or Julia. And this is why I said make sure there are no other enemies around when you do this, because Vega won't kill Julia, but that won't stop other enemies from finishing her off, because she will be guaranteed to be reduced to 1 HP. He'll give her a fruit to heal, but that's, you know, obviously won't mean anything if she's dead before she gets a chance to use it. So, let's see. I want to be a little careful with Vega here. Because while he is extremely good, I don't want him, like, it's because he's good. Because I don't want him to kill Roger. And Roger's not even, like, his old boss or anything like that. It's just, you know, happened to be on the same battlefield. So this is what I was saying when I said that Julia is the exception but not the rule for Myrmidons being like a little bit weak, because Vega is very, very powerful. I don't know if I'm even going to be able to get Sasha to do anything useful in this chapter though, which is a... I am dumb! Of course, she has something very useful that she needs to do. She needs to slog over here with 4 movement and reach that house. For reasons. Okay, that guy right there, that guy is gonna get lured over here, so I can finish him off, so that I can send some girls down there to block Roger. And Mel is, you know, not an issue, because she, you know, she's just mainly a healer. I mean, she does have a sword, but it's not, like, it's gonna really be doing much. Runan does need to be hightailing it to the seize point, though, because the faster we seize in this chapter, the better. After we've reached Raquel's house, though. I still, like, this guy... I know there was a thing in my Sacred Stones playthrough where there was an archer who just wasn't moving at all, but this guy is on a whole nother level. It almost feels like they just forgot to give him AI. Because I've never seen him try to attack anybody before. It's just so weird. Yeah, Fire Emblem, well, I mean, this isn't Fire Emblem, but still, but, like, in general, like strategy RPG AI is always a mystery to me, because it always tends to be really weird, like, I think I've yet to see, or, I mean, Fate's Conquest has excellent AI, which is kind of a bad thing, because a lot of the normal tactics involving luring enemies don't work in Conquest, because they don't take the bait, but... Oh, 2 level ups in 1 chapter for Raffin, which is pretty nice. There we go. The way that the sellsword class looks is kind of funny. Like, they sort of whip with their sword like that. And goodbye. You challenge the Reaper, you get reaped. Now I have that No More Heroes song in my head. Yeah, the good news about Roger is that his movement is not good because of the forest, so it's really not that hard to lock him down. You just kind of need to put, speaking of which, can I... Oh, no, okay, can I want to lure this archer without luring Roger to Naren, because then Roger will die an extremely painful death. But yeah, let's get some of our female characters down. Like, you just need to, like, block off these roads with girls, and then Roger won't really be able to do anything. Because he'll just be stuck trying to get through the forests. And Enter and Plum can do decently at that. In fact, I'm going to send Esther... should I send her careening forward? I don't know if, like, she can get S-stocked in the face by... Like, Mel, from my experience, tends not to really worry about attacking that much. And I don't really, like, there isn't much else that Raffin can do in this map. Because most of the remaining enemies are either too far away from him, or are things that I really don't want to die. Okay, there he comes. There he comes. No, here he comes. But yeah, so like Roger's there, and now I can do. You are getting dangerously close to Naren, which is something that I really, really don't like. And Naren no longer has that javelin to easily lure the archer. This is a weird situation because I'm trying to keep away from Roger, but for Roger's safety, not my own. Oh yeah, you did use the fruit, so I mean she doesn't have Kanto though, which is a problem. Like I can put Julia there, but then I can not put Esther there because of stuff. But because I don't want Esther to die. Yeah, I usually find, though, that Roger just kind of meanders all over the place and doesn't really go anywhere productive, so, I mean, it's not really that much of an issue to keep him alive. Yeah, are you tired of this song's loop yet? You'll be by the end of the game. There are some good songs in TearRing Saga. I actually don't think its map themes are its best strength, though. Oh, there's another archer down there. Just noticed you. But, I mean, you know, Rudin can probably eviscerate you up close. Oh, yeah, also, Martel is great for blocking Roger, so... I just realized something kind of, it's a little bit more vulgar than I usually go for on the channel, but, like, given that Roger is often uses a euphemism for something, and that we're blocking him, you see where I'm going with this. He is really going after Naren. This is kind of strange. But Naren can Naren this archer, hopefully. To Naren is now a verb. He actually looks even cooler dismounted than he does mounted. Well, I mean, I guess one of the girls can do this. Even more strength. And, like, his growths aren't even supposed to be good, and he's actually getting really good level ups for me. So this is kind of silly. Well, I guess I can take you down. I would like to be using Vega a little more, because I definitely plan on training Vega, but... he can do well. He'll do well in the next chapter, at least. Oh, that's okay. So yeah, the whole thing about Julia being framed for murder, that is part of that whole personal quest that I was talking about with her in the last chapter. I think if she goes here, that doesn't quite block Roger on that side. But yeah, this is the reason why Julia wants to go to Runan's homelands, because Runan's homeland is actually very close to where Lenzenheimer is. Or, in the original fan translation, Renshin, because they couldn't fit Lenzenheimer. Maybe I can dismount Raffin. Send him down there. But yeah, I always used to call him Renshin. Because I think that's just like a contraction of his name. It's not quite as silly as when the Thracia... Not Thracia. When the Echoes... Echo... It wasn't called Echoes back then. I'm messing up everything. When the Gaiden fan translation called Robin Bird, or Tobin as we know him now, but his name was Robin in Japanese, and there wasn't enough space to... Again, the archers just don't want to move. Yeah, they yeah, it's weird. There wasn't enough space to fit Robin, so they had to just call him Bird. They only had like a 4-character... I really, really like the backdrop here. I forgot how cool this backdrop was. This game does have some really cool backdrops in battle scenes. Like, they're even better than, like, the optional backdrops in the GBA Fire Emblems. I mean, you know, it's not like this is a Fire Emblem game or anything. Aha! Oh, but his wife is up the top there, so we can't actually fully block him, but we can kind of block him. I mean, like, if you really wanted to, you could technically try and sort of abuse experience off of him with female characters if you really wanted to, but, I mean, it's not, like, it's not, you know, necessary or anything. It's just kind of a silly thing that you can potentially do. In my test playthrough, I never got to fully block Roger, but I might actually be able to fully box him in this one. Okay, I should be able to, seize that house. No, we're not the pillagers here. I mean, we kind of are the invaders, since this is, you know, Coda's territory, but it's kind of annoying that I'm not actually reaching, the house until now, because I won't be able to show off how interesting... Well, we know it's Raquel, but I won't be able to show off how interesting she is. I mean, magic +1 is okay, you know, because, like I said, Weapon Swords are amazing in TearRing Saga. And, okay, I am in range to seize. I wonder how many first-time players figured out that you could finish this chapter without killing Roger via, you know... I mean, it's very rare that bosses leave their seize points, so... well, and that's a problem, because Mel will never block his movement, so I can't fully box him in. I'm just gonna, you know, box him as much as I can. If I go there... Oh, he's pretty boxed that way. So, again, if you have Luca, enter this house with Luca before you do with Sasha, and I actually have footage of that from another file. Oh, this recruitment theme! It's called Gathering of Heroes, and that makes it sound like a Fire Emblem Heroes song. Oh, well, you can travel with Sasha this time. I guess he's claimed the role of tactician now. I was gonna make a joke about Undertale pacifist runs, but it's kind of inappropriate for Raquel for reasons that I'll get to soon. Even Luca. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be making light of this because it's a sad situation, but like that makes it sound like Luca's dead. It reminds me of that thing from The Simpsons where groundskeeper Willie is telling that story and then he ends it with "No one survived, not even Willie." Why? Well, it's just like Luca is like I haven't even got into like the worst parts of how badly Luca has it. Luca is just like being Luca is suffering so much. So yeah, Bridget reference here. I almost wonder if that was gonna be an actual genealogy reference in the original plan for this game. Because yeah, Genealogy of the Holy War technically, well not technically, it actually does take place in the same universe as Shadow Dragon does. And there were actual references to genealogy in this game's original planned backstory. In fact, probably more so than Arcanea. So, like, as Sasha is saying, there are plenty of different ways to be a soldier, and, to quote Aladdin, even if you can't kill people, you'd be surprised what you can live through. Oh yeah, you'll learn all about that if you, for some reason, pick Luca at Verge. Yeah. Luca is very, very heavily implied to have a massive crush on Sasha. That's probably why he kept telling her stories about his sister. Yeah, Raquel, it's implied that she hunts wild game and cooks with it. But yes, we have Raquel on our side. Raquel is one of the most interestingly designed characters in any strategy RPG that I've ever seen. I'm just gonna come out and say it. Raquel is waifu material. And I mean that in the mecha sense. I think she's one of the most interestingly designed units in any strategy RPG. So, here's the rundown. She has really good base stats, pretty solid growth rates all round, and starts with Paragon. She has enough mastery at base to use any bow in the game, including the Brave Bow, which she happens to come with, as well as 2 useful utility crossbows we'll be encountering later. She also starts with Adept. That, combined with the Brave Bow, lets her one round basically any enemy that she gets to attack. But she has several drawbacks. The first is that she is a sniper, so she can only really attack one thing per turn. The second is the most notable. Raquel has taken a vow of pacifism, and as such, cannot kill human enemies. She'll reduce them to 1 HP, and then all of her remaining attacks are guaranteed to miss. If you've played Radiant Dawn, you probably know the pain of Valencia's Mercy skill, but this I find much more useful because she's available early in the game where setting up kills for weaker characters is a lot more useful. And there is really very little that she can't bring down to 1 HP, which means you basically get to choose who boss kills go to as long as Raquel's around, and that can be very useful. And remember that she's still perfectly capable of killing monsters, and even learns Slayer at level 16 to make her even better at that job. And we'll be seeing a lot of monsters in the mid-game and the late game, but honestly, I find her ability to leave humans on 1 HP more useful. Another important thing to note is that she can still kill human enemies in arenas, so she can gain some experience and gold this way if you're so inclined. Now, there is actually a way to remove Raquel's power limiter and let her kill humans, but it requires you to have picked Luca at Verge. And the event that does so only happens in chapter 26. Overall, I don't think she needs this event to be useful at all. And with that, it's kind of unfortunate that we have to do this, but... Oh wait, no, that's not until next turn. We can end this... Yeah, well, we'll end things next turn. I think the only enemies left are the 2 that we don't want to kill. So, I think that's... Like, I don't think anyone else can talk to Raquel. Or can Runan talk to Vega? Doesn't look like it. Because, like, Vega's just like, surprise, I'm in your army now. Because I have a score to settle. So yeah, Coda sucks so much that we already have his castle. Or not. Or he's already moved into the palace because he's acting like he owns the place, literally. Or, you know, he's not actually at the palace because all the knights there are too loyal. And, you know, if he probably tried to order them around, they would most likely just throw him in the dungeon immediately. Well, we've met Roger already. We don't know about those other 2. Yeah, Coda is very much grasping at straws. He might be one of the most pathetic starter villains in strategy RPGs, honestly. But, you know, he does have the manpower. Are you sure? We have Naren. I think Naren is more than equal to Coda's entire army by this point. But we're going to be taking a bit of a detour next time. We'll be visiting the Temple of Mars. And getting some advice from Master Eisenbaha. I still like to call him that sometimes because it's really fun to say. I mean, we have Enter. He probably will side with us. Does he change that line if you have Lee? I'm guessing he doesn't. Here's the thing though. They wouldn't just give us a superpowered legendary sage this early. I mean, they kind of do with Lee, but still. That's gameplay and story segregation. But next time, it's off to the Temple of Mars.